Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Heather and I am the owner and author behind townsendhouse.com, where I help you implement systems and strategies in order to overcome the chaos and cultivate simplicity in your home and homeschool. Now, over the past several months, I have put out a bunch of videos about back to school, what our homeschool curriculum choices are going to be, curriculum unboxings, even a vlog of the slow start that I do for our homeschool year. And in each of those videos, I have talked about Brave Writer, and I have been meaning to put together a video about Brave Writer, how we use it in our homeschool, and I haven't, but today I am going to do that. So I do have a bunch of notes, so if I'm looking down, it is at my clipboard. Yes, so let's get started. So I first heard about Brave Writer several years ago when I was doing some research about spelling. The dreaded spelling subject. Emma was doing a great job with reading and reading comprehension, reading above her grade level. We did tons of copy work. She would always get 100 on any spelling lists that I gave her. You know, you give them 10 to 20 words at the beginning of the week and then a test at the end of the week. She always did really great with all of that. However, I noticed when she was doing her free writing, she would not spell words correctly. Now, she had just turned 8, and I probably shouldn't have been as worried as I was, but I was worried, and I was researching, why is she struggling with spelling? And I ended up finding a post that Julie had done at her Brave Writer blog several years ago about how learning to self-edit is a skill that most kids don't actually start to understand until about 9 to 12, the ages of 9 to 12. So that gave me a whole lot of relief at the moment. I knew that she had the ability to spell the words correctly, but she was so excited to get words down on the page that she was not able to stop and think through how to spell those words. So once I read that, I felt a lot better because we had tried several spelling programs before, and I couldn't understand why it was not working when she would get all of the words correct. It didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand why dictation wasn't working. It was just crazy. So once I started learning more about Brave Writer and how their philosophy on writing is so completely different than anything I had read before, it really appealed to me. I definitely think of myself as a more relaxed homeschooler in that I do not make my kids sit down and do a bunch of worksheets. There are times that they do worksheets. We do have a math curriculum that we follow. There are times that they do things that they do not enjoy. However, for the most part, I really want them to learn through experience, learn through reading good literature, learn through research and forming their own opinions. And the Brave Writer program really appealed to me because that's kind of how it works. They will read great literature, they will do dictation, they'll talk about tricky spelling words and writing elements and grammar, all within the context of a book that they are reading either with you or you are reading to them. And so we started to do arrow guides. So what an arrow is, it's you choose a book that has an arrow guide, and then you go through that book, and it's a 1-month-long program where you have dictation and writing elements and grammar and spelling, and you go through and learn about language arts through great literature. And since we were already literature-based homeschoolers, it made a lot of sense for us. It also made a lot of sense because a lot of the guides that they had were books that we were already planning to read through our Sunlight Literature program. So that is what we have done for the past several years. We have I have chosen arrows based on books that the kids are reading. Now, we do not do an arrow every single month. Sometimes we would do 4 in a row. Sometimes we would just do a couple, and we would concentrate on the areas that they needed me to concentrate on with them. So, but this year, Julie has redesigned, and her team have redesigned their entire Brave Writer program. Instead of arrows being for 8 to 12-year-olds, now they have a new program called the DART, which is for 8 to 10-year-olds. The arrows are for 11 to 12, and then they have Boomerang, which is for 13 to 15-year-olds. Now, I have always combined Emma and Jack, and I sort of adjust it for Jack, who is younger. Obviously, I do not make him do as much work as I make Emma do, much to her disappointment. So this year, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I had a really hard year choosing resources for all of my kids this year, except for Lucy. Lucy was relatively easy to choose for. So what we ended up deciding was that Jack would do the full DART program this year. There are 10 books, which I will read to you in just a moment, and we subscribed to the DART for the year. So every year, Brave Writer comes out with 10 new books for their Arrow and Boomerang programs, and this year they also, because they've added this new DART program for 8 to 10-year-olds, they came out with 10 books that they are going to be working on this year, and then next year it'll be 10 different books, etc. So Jack is going to be doing the full DART program, and the reason that we decided to do that was partly because we already own most of these books, have read most of these books, and I thought that it would be a good introduction for him specifically, and he also asked for me to get the DART for him instead of bumping him up to some of the Arrow books. And on the other side, Emma really wanted to do some of the Boomerang books this year. So instead of purchasing the whole Arrow or the whole Boomerang, she is 12, she'll be 13 at the end, in the middle of the school year this year. So she is going to be doing some Arrow guides and some Boomerang guides based on books that we were planning on reading, and then also books that she really wanted to do from the Boomerang. So I'm going to go through all of those books first, and then I will talk about the writing projects in addition to the arrows and the boomerangs and the DART. So first, I'm going to read the list of the DART books that Jack will be using this year. The first one is Charlotte's Web, and we have read that a couple of times as a family, and right now he is listening to it on Audible. He was going to read it to Lucy, but she wasn't sitting still for that, so I let him listen to it on Audible. And that's the first month. And then September is The Prairie Thief. October is Finn Family Moomin Troll, which I believe that's actually a series, and I think that is the third book. I have never read any of these books, but from what I have heard, they are standalone, so you do not have to go in order. November, The House at Pooh Corner. December, The Mouse and the Motorcycle. January, Mr. Popper's Penguins. February, Sarah Plain and Tall. March, The Trumpet of the Swan. April, The Year of the Dog. And May, Encyclopedia Brown, Boy Detective. So those are all the books that Jack will be using for the DART this year. Because the DART is a completely different program, all redesigned, I do not know exactly what to expect. I know it is going to follow the same order as the Arrow guides, where there's some dictation and copy work that you do throughout the week. They concentrate on a passage of the book. They concentrate on specific grammar from that passage in the book, tricky spelling words, like I said, and writing elements. So How that is going to be for the dart, I'm not sure. I think the main difference between the dart and the arrow is first that the books are obviously much shorter, and then I think that the copywork is going to be significantly shorter as well. Now, Jack has already read half of these books, so on his own in previous years. So we may or may not reread them. It will depend on how we are doing with everything else, but I am still going to have him go through the guides because he does know the stories. A lot of them he read last year. Or we read together as a family. The Trumpet of the Swan we read last fall. Mr. Popper's Penguins he read. Mouse and the Motorcycle, Encyclopedia Brown a few times, Charlotte's Web, The House at Pooh Corner. They're all very familiar stories to him, so I'm not sure that we need to reread the books. We may. The Finn Family Moomin Troll is the only one that we have not read at all. So I'm interested to read that, and I will read that to the kids. They all love to sit for read-alouds, so we do that every day anyways. So I'm really excited to start the dart with Jack. The first one comes out on August 1st, and then the way that it works is the first of each month they come out with the new guide. So you do not have to purchase the entire year. You can pick and choose whichever ones you want, which is what we have done in the past. But I thought that these would be good, and I know that I will end up reusing them when Lucy is old enough to use them as well. Now I am going to share the books that Emma will be reading for Arrows and Boomerangs this year. So the first book that Emma is going to be reading, that she's reading right now, is actually Emma by Jane Austen. It is a Boomerang book. It was the first book that Julie announced for the Boomerang this year, and as soon as Emma heard it, she was excited. She had listened to the BBC dramatization audiobook before, and she has seen I think she watched the BBC miniseries of Emma. I think that is the one that she saw, and she loves it. She loves the story, especially because her name is Emma. So she is listening to that on Audible right now. I do have a blog post with links to all of the books that we are using, which I will leave in the description box below for you. Because there are several different Audible narrators for Emma, and the one that we have we really enjoy. And then in September, Elijah of Buxton, which is an arrow. October, The Hound of the Baskervilles, which is a boomerang. November, Children of the Longhouse, arrow. December, The Wizard of Oz, which is a boomerang. January, Bud Not Buddy, which is an arrow. February, The People Could Fly, which are a collection of short stories or folk tales. That is an arrow. In March, They Called Us Enemy, which is a boomerang. April, A Wrinkle in Time, boomerang, and then May, To Kill a Mockingbird, which is also a boomerang. And I do have two alternative books. The first is Wings of Fire, which is an arrow this year. My kids love the Wings of Fire series. She has read it multiple times. So if we are looking for something a little bit easier, we will have her do that because I know she's really interested. And then the other one is The View from Saturday, which is also, that one is a boomerang, and that is one of her literature selections for this year for Sunlight, which she is already planning on reading. And so the difference between the arrow and the boomerang, longer copywork passages for narration and dictation, and then also just a more mature book, I guess, more mature themes, more in-depth writing elements and grammar, etc. So that is what we are going to be using for Dart, Arrow, and Boomerang for Emma and Jack this year. Now I am going to talk a little bit about the writing projects. So for the writing projects this year, I have partnership writing, which is for 9 to 10-year-olds, And then also faltering ownership, which is for 11 and 12, or whatever age range you feel like your kids need. If they would like the partnership writing, that's great. If they are able to move on to faltering ownership, that's great too. Julie does say you have to go through all of the stages of writing in order to continue moving ahead. So partnership writing is just like it sounds like. You are partnering with your child to write out these projects. Now, some of the writing is going to be you, some of it will be your child, some of it will be a collaboration. Your child will tell you things and you'll write them down and you'll work together. Now, these are projects. They are not just a quick thing that you can just say, here's what you do and turn in your paper at the end of the week. It is a month-long project. We have not ever done a project every month. We pick and choose based on everything else that we have going on throughout the year. If we're really busy with music or other activities, we may cut back on the type of writing project that the kids are doing. My kids love writing. They write every day. I don't discourage it. I don't correct their writing when they just want to write. I let them. And I think that's part of the reason that they enjoy it so much, is that I am not constantly correcting everything that they put together. Doesn't mean that I don't correct some things. I do. It is important to do some correcting, but I try not to do it for every piece of writing. I want them to enjoy the process, enjoy the creativity, and just have the opportunity to write for writing, to get their ideas out. Whether they have poor grammar and spelling, it is what it is. They enjoy writing, so I let them be. So Jack is going to be doing partnership writing, and Emma will do faltering ownership. I may adjust some of the projects so that if we are doing a partnership writing project, Emma can use that project but on a more faltering ownership level. Or if we are doing a faltering ownership project, the same thing. I can back it down and help Jack more where he needs help. So partnership writing does have 10 projects, and faltering ownership does have 12 projects. And they build on each other, so you shouldn't, start with project number 10 the first month of the year. But I love the idea of the projects, and they are always fun for the kids. They really enjoy exploring the different ideas and doing some of the silly work involved. And so it is something that we really enjoy. Now, Brave Writer is completely different than any sort of language arts that I have seen, English and language arts program. Like I said, there aren't any worksheets or, diagramming sentences, things that you would think of when you think of English and language arts. And Julie really talks about this Brave Writer lifestyle and how you want to incorporate enchantment into your homeschool. And so if you do not know a lot about the Brave Writer program, I recommend you to looking into Julie's book called The Brave Learner. It really lays out what the Brave Writer lifestyle is. She does have another program that you can purchase called The Writer's Jungle, which is also a great thing to have to read through. It goes through how you ought to schedule the days, and it does talk about what that Brave Writer lifestyle is. But I loved her book, The Brave Learner, and thought that it was such a great representation of what homeschooling overall can be and how you can implement a lot of the Brave Writer lifestyle elements into your overall homeschool. And so I will leave a link for that book below. I think that is a must read for any homeschooler, no matter if you're a beginner or if you are a veteran homeschooler like I am. I think that it's super important to be able to bring that enchantment into your homeschool. And it's just a very encouraging book to have in your stash. So that is our Brave Writer curriculum choices for this year. The arrows, the boomerangs, the entire DART program. If you want to see more about the Faltering Ownership and Partnership Writing projects, please let me know in the comments and I can try and do a flip through for you of those. All of these programs are PDFs. I did actually have mine printed, bound, and sent back to me because I wanted to do that. I needed that for me, at least for the writing projects. For the individual guides, I just print those out on a week-by-week basis on my own printer. I print out the copywork passages for the kids, and then I have my guide. I like to work off of paper rather than the computer. Yeah, so if you do want to see more of this curriculum once we get into it after August 1st, please let me know and I can do walkthroughs or flip-throughs for you or answer any questions. Like I said, because they've redesigned the program, I don't have a whole lot to show you right now, just what our choices were for this year. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.